Good. Welcome to the Hurdle Podcast. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, I have the lovely bandage on. And it's Catterday, okay? It's Catterday. We've been waiting 3 weeks to make this. Cats in the FCS championship, taking on the Bison from North Dakota State. Great matchup. I know I'm excited for the game. Bailey, how about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm not an early riser, but I'll definitely be up at 9 a.m. Pacific time to watch. Very well, potentially could be a Cats dub. I don't know. Like you said, we've been ramping up 3 weeks for this game. All the players have, all the coaches have, and kind of ready to see the Titan kind of go down, go underdog. I'm always cheering for the underdog, especially when I'm going there. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it kind of feels like that. It's kind of like, the Cats are here now. It's kind of, and then you've got, you got Big Brother on the other side in North Dakota State. Granted, they don't have a Carson Wentz or a Trey Lance this time around, but they still have a very dominant team, obviously 13-1, and they're here. And I know a lot of people are, especially Grizz fans, are arguing that side of the bracket was harder. I don't want to hear. What are they up to this weekend? Sitting on their couch watching, the beginning of the Chiefs Broncos game. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Go right ahead, bud. Because our team's in the championship. But yeah, I'm gonna get my little bit in because now my voice, is all back. I didn't get my little take in on the South Dakota State game. Whole reason I didn't have a voice was because I was at that game. That was maybe one of the most electric atmospheres I've ever been in. And I've been to a game at Longhorn Stadium. I've been to a Cowboys game. I went to the game in Missoula. And, everyone's like, oh, Missoula's really loud. That game on Saturday 3 weeks ago was one of the loudest games I'd ever been to. The fans were really getting into it. The AD for South Dakota State was right in front of our section. And he was getting hype every time they scored. And then, he went down to the other side once it started getting not so close. Weird. But yeah, it was a fun game. Very dominant, I thought, performance both sides of the ball from Montana State against the South Dakota State team that had a lot of momentum going into it. And we just handled the moment bigger, like better, I guess. We had home field. We had everyone there. And it was just all around fun game, but that's in the past. This game, though, me and Bailey were talking, we tried to make it down there, but I love our Cats, but it
was a chunk of change.
Yeah, the flights were a little bit of a chunk of change. And we were calculating before we came on. Bailey is literally the farthest you could be from Frisco, Texas, driving wise,
in the
than
first
anywhere in the lower 48. New York's closer.
Yeah, New York's
closer. Maine's closer.
Maine's closer. Yeah, I'm literally as far away as you can get on the original 48. It kind of sucks because I wanted to be there.
I mean, hey, yeah, I know. Like, when I first looked at tickets, I'm like, whoa, these are, and then, recently they've gone down for the standing room, and I'm like,
now, like $20 ain't bad for standing room. Like, that's what you got to go to a normal Cats game, much less.
Exactly. That's how much, a normal game is.
Yeah.
And standing room, it's like we were talking to, it's like when you're in the student section at an MSU game, you don't sit. There's no room to sit, and you don't want to sit.
Exactly.
So it would have just been another game up in Bozeman, just a lot warmer. But enough of that. Let's get into the game. Both sides really, I think, match up pretty well because both defenses are very good, very talented in the front seven. And the secondary is iffy at times, but Ty Okeda is back for the Cats. He will be playing in this game. Same with Isaiah Ifanse. He might be on limited carries, but he is still playing. But yeah, both defenses very well set up to stop the run. And that's what both these teams like to do. Tommy touchdown is the big factor of our offensive late. And now with Isaiah back, that's going to be even more prominent. But then you look at North Dakota State, their fullback has 80 carries. You just don't hear of that, which is insane. But it's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be, if you like old school football, I think this is going to be the perfect game. There's not going to be a ton of passing, I don't think, unless it's a 3rd and long. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you come in, you got the best defense right now in the FCS, coming against probably the biggest powerhouse in the FCS we've seen in the last 10 years, easily for the last decade, probably. They're going for title number 9. And it's really kind of a David versus Goliath kind of story when you look at it, just because the reign that North Dakota State has held basically on the entire conference, not just their conference, but the entire FCS.
League.
Yeah, the entire
Yeah.
league basically, because they produce pro level talent just right and left, and it's absolutely incredible at the rate that they do that, and they just are so consistent. And you look at the loss to South Dakota State, which is their only loss on the year. They're 13-1. And, you maybe thought, maybe they're not fantastic. And they just bounce back with win after win after win. They beat Youngstown State by flipping 32 points. They beat South Dakota by 28 points. And then they, in my opinion, they handled James Madison, especially in that 4th quarter, very well. So they're just absolutely on a tear right now. And it's really just 2 bulls just going straight at it, 2 Rams colliding. It's going to be a very hard fought, aggressively played game, and I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I think too, you look at the coaching in this matchup, you got the experienced coaching staff over at North Dakota State. This is the first year for Brett Vegan and his staff, and they've got us here. Like in his press conference, it's all over every cat page you find. He said he was going to get us to a national championship, and he delivered. And can't give him enough props. I know a lot of people were like, I don't know, but he got the cast at 12-2 when they really probably shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have played their brand of football and executed very well for the past 3 to 4 games after the Montana game.
Right when the playoffs started.
Yeah, they hit their stride at the perfect time. The question's going to be asked, are both these teams going to kind of have a slump? Because, it's 3 weeks in between the game and the last playoff game and the championship game, which I think's very true. I think this might be a sloppy start. You might get a turnover each side to start this game off. And again, like we said, I think the scoring is going to be really low. So it might be an uneventful first quarter. It's going to be what team adjusts best after getting hit in the mouth and how they bounce back from it, from that second quarter to probably that 4th quarter, because I think this game's going down to the wire in the 4th. So it's going to be what team has the most left in the tank, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you probably give advantage North Dakota State when you talk about making adjustments, just because you have that veteran leadership with their head coach. And I mean, we have a 1st-year guy, like you said, in Vegan, even though he's been absolutely fantastic this year. I mean, he's made this defense really what it is, because he's more of a defensively minded head coach, at least from my take and how he talks about the caliber that his defense has been playing at. That's kind of, I think, his highlight of this team, and it should be. It's absolutely the core of this roster is the defense, especially that front 7, because they just wreak havoc, basically game in and game out. So, yeah, it's going to be one heck of a matchup to see, not only coaching wise, but also our front 7 against North Dakota State's superior O-line in size, blocking ability. It's probably the best O-line they've seen all year. Just because, like, I mean, they're 2 of their tackles that are 6'7", both their tackles 6'7". They got backup that's 6'8", and then the other backup on the right side 6'6", and they all are over 300 pounds. The guards all over 300 pounds. It's just like the sheer size and push that they get up front really showed against James Madison when I watched the end of that game. And I think that's something to be scared of, because they only run the ball. Like you said, their fullback has 80 carries. Their
leading rusher has 115.
Yeah, their leading rusher has 115. They do it by committee. Quincy Patterson, they run two quarterbacks. It's as simple as that. Cam Miller, I believe, was the guy that I saw at the end of the James Madison game, airing it out a little bit. He only has 138 attempts on the year, and Patterson only has 101 attempts on the year. So they do not throw the ball. Patterson has more carries than passing attempts. So I think that says a lot. And they also have two running backs over 100 carries. Their third string running back has over 60 carries. It's like they are strictly run by committee and do it any way possible. Their leading receiver has 40 catches on the year, not even 39. So it's like when you talk about that, the run game is going to be so prominent and who can get their run game going first. And I kind of agree with you. Like you said, 3-week break. I'm expecting a little bit of nerves, but a lot of kind of aggression, trying to go and get after it. And that aggression could probably lead into some turnovers, maybe a little bit of sloppy play calling here and there, just almost kind of shaking the rust off, kind of, even though they've been practicing all 3 weeks for this huge game. You kind of see it. You see it going into the Super Bowl every year. The first quarter is not some bang it out 21-14 kind of deal. It's always a fairly slow paced start to these really big games, which is what you kind of see. I kind of agree with you. I think that's what happens here.
Yeah, and like I think the size of North Dakota State's O&D line is going to play a factor, but I don't know if they've played a defense as quick as ours flows to the ball. And our own line gets after it in the run game. They're very fast off the ball. So it's going to be more of this size versus speed. And, you know, this game's going to be won and lost in the trenches. It always is. But if any game, this is the biggest game for that. Because, like we said, both teams do not throw the ball. Like North Dakota State has 2 quarterbacks. And we just don't throw. And we have a freshman quarterback. Like that kind of concerns me because, you know, it's a big stage. He's a freshman. You know, we've really only seen four games of Tommy, but in those 4 games, he has pretty much been the offense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I think maybe what team, because I think the run games are going to be very equal. I think it's going to be whatever team keep the air attack going and how the secondary plays, because most teams know we as Bobcats are just throwing it up deep. We throw it to our guys, we let them go up and get it, and if Tommy underthrows it, you're probably getting called for a penalty. Like that's just how it is. So I think, you know, having 3-4 games of that on film and 3 weeks to prepare, that scares me if we try to throw it early, because that's going to lead to the turnovers. And with an experienced team like this, you just can't be doing that. And, you know, I haven't watched North Dakota State games, so I don't know how their quarterbacks do it. But from the highlights I saw from that James Madison game, they also like throw it deep. So it's going to be like we talk about trenches, you know, all that. It's going to really come down to what team doesn't turn it over, what quarterback plays better, and how the secondary covers. Because Montana State's secondary has been iffy at times, but with Ty Okada back, that's going to be a huge boost to this defense. And I think the Cats are just getting healthy at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, Ifanse's back, which is huge. He's been, when McKay was here, he was the offense really the entire year. I mean, he has near 300 carries, I believe, on the 262.
Yeah, 262
carries on 6. Mellott already has 110 carries in 3 games, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it's, to me, I got 2 keys. It's like you said, if the front 7 dominates, the secondary doesn't need to do much. And I think this front 7, like you said, with the speed, you got Troy Andersen, who's FCS Defensive Player of the Year, basically in anyone's eyes. I think you could say that. I think even North Dakota State recognizes that.
Yeah.
And you got is it Daniel Hardy, which he's been, I believe he's a first team all FCS on the D line this year, which he had 2.5 sacks, I believe, against South Dakota State. So he's been fantastic all year long. They had the studs, like you said, Valdez, who's the freshman, coming in on the other side of Hardy. He switches in at D tackle in the end. He's basically won us 2 games off of game clinching sacks. So he's super clutch when it comes down to it, even though he's only a freshman. And really, this team is just, it's so well-rounded defensively. Chase Benson also on the D line, like the front seven is just loaded. It's as simple as that. And they get to the quarterback. Even when they can't get pushed, they know how to create sacks and pass rushing opportunities for themselves, even against size. So yeah, it comes down to that. And it comes down to who can get their running game going first. And I think whoever does that starts the fastest, which I think is a huge factor in this game. As it comes down between, you got Mellott and Ifanse on one side. And then, like you said, you got that basically four-headed monster of the really heavy power game that they like to run over there at NDSU. So I think it's going to come down to those two factors. And I guess we can give predictions now, but yeah, you got any more keys?
No, I mean, I think you just got to stop the big plays. It's like every game, like you can give up a couple big plays, but it's which team gives up the least amount of big plays. So I think that's going to be huge in this game. But yeah, let's go into picks. So the spread right now, as we record, is 7.5 for North Dakota State. The over-under is 41.5. So very low scoring. Kind of like we were saying. I can't go against the Cats. Like, I think this is their biggest test. It's going to show, was this kind of a fluke that we got here? Or if they keep it competitive with, like you said, the most dominant team in the FCS in our probably lifetime, in at least the last 10 years. Because they just produce every quarterback that's an FCS quarterback. They produce linemen that are FCS linemen that go on to be NFL caliber. They just produce. And I think this is more of a future win for the Cats. Because if you get this win, your recruiting jumps over U of M. It jumps over any of the like the Eastern Washington. And then you got to look at the Dakota teams, because then it's like they beat both of them going into the year. They're the most well-rounded of all of them. So this is a huge game, not only for the present for the Cats, but for the future of recruiting in this team, because we haven't been to a championship since '84, and we're finally back. And this is when we have to capitalize.
Yeah, and Sam Houston and James Madison are going FBS. So the top two teams, they're literally out of the, if you wanted to play FCS ball, and that's what you're looking at, Sam Houston, James Madison aren't going to be in the future for that. So yeah, I totally agree. Sorry.
So it comes down to then, no, of course, jump on in. It does not matter.
Keep rolling.
It's going to come down to probably these two for the next little while until they maybe get a call up to the FBS. But I just can't go against the Cats. I just can't. I think this is, again, their biggest test, obviously. It's just going to show what we're made of. Again, low score. I'll take the Cats 21. I'll take North Dakota State 17. I know that's asking a lot out of this defense to hold North Dakota State to 17 points. But I think if you can hold them under 20, we can win this game. If we hold them under 20, it's a win. I just think the offense can put up more than 20, and I think the defense is just going to hold them to under 20. So,
man, I've been thinking about this for a long time now. I've had 3 weeks to ponder this, and I've looked at all the stats basically. Given my thought as to, I mean, we talked about the veteran coaching on the side of North Dakota State. Our freshman head coach, who's had a fantastic year, has really made his mark so far. In VN, you got, the freshman QB in Mellott, who's literally just on an absolute tear as of late, to the season guys at North Dakota State. It's really, it's almost like Michigan. Do you take the Fab Five, or do you take those 90s Duke teams? If we're talking about like Leitner and Bobby Hurley and those guys, if we're talking about old NCAA tournament, it kind of gives me that kind of vibe. But
yeah, for sure.
The sad thing is Duke came out on top in those games. I'm gonna take Montana State. by one.
That wasn't very convincing.
Yeah, by one. I know it wasn't convincing. I'm so nervous because like North Dakota
Like
State.
we're not even playing in this, and
Mhm.
I just get butterflies. Like I am so excited. Like, oh, it's Catterday. Ah,
And I don't normally get this nervous because like my NFL team is the Vikings, so we haven't had a big game since the NFC Championship. Like, was that
and we
5 years
saw that.
ago now? Yeah, 5 years ago now. So yeah. I mean, and we just put North Dakota State on this pedestal basically in the FCS, especially over the last decade and the talent that they've produced, like we've said. But I just like the aggressiveness that this front seven plays with. They play extremely hard, rough-nosed, tough defense. Andersen fills the middle like no other. And I think Tommy can get it going to just enough where if the defense gets one or two turnovers, especially early, we saw this against Sam Houston. If they can get one or two turnovers, convert early on good field possession or position, excuse me, they can really reel that into points and put you away quickly. If they can have that kind of performance like they did in the first half against Sam Houston, even to 2/3 of that degree, I think they come out on top in this game. If that's a little more convincing for you. But yeah, I like Montana State by one, 24-23, somewhere around there, 21-20, kind of in that range, like right around the spread. I think, or the over under. I think the over under is pretty much money. Over under is 41.5. So yeah, weather's looking nice. It's gonna be 51 degrees, cloudy. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it's Texas.
it's
Like what? What's
it's
it right now in Bozeman? What's it right now?
it's flipping freezing. But yeah, it's just neutral field, decent weather. It's really just going to come down to the coaching and how these teams play. The scenarios can't be any better for each team. Each team's going in healthy. So yeah, it's a matchup we're all excited for. We've been waiting 3 weeks for it, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure the town of Bozeman right now is probably shut down. Like no one will be doing anything on Saturday. If they're not already at the game, there's gonna be maybe the only two places that'll be open are B-Dubs and gosh, what's that one bar on the south end of campus? Oh, not that we're old enough to go.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, right by the basketball arena.
Yep. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You should know this. We're local Bozemanites, but we are not old enough to drink, so we do not.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we can say much more about this game. It's just going to be a dogfight on both sides. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up here. FCS championship preview in the books. We might try and get the recap to you right after the game ends, so you get first reactions, whether that is sadness or happiness.
I'm down.
No, so I'm looking forward to just a rough-nosed, tough battle game that I think is going to develop here in Frisco. I mean, we can't ask for much more. So yeah, that's going to do it. Follow us, especially MSU alumni. If you're not following us, we cover Montana State sports constantly. So once this football game's over, we're switching directly over to basketball, men's basketball specifically. We'll cover guys like Battle that have been going off recently. Montana State's actually not doing too bad.
Yeah,
in the hoops
category, we might have an interview with a b-ball player here coming up. It's in the works.
Little hint. In the works, yeah. Yeah, so check out that.
Right now, yeah, they're in the middle of Big Sky play right now.
I believe so. Yep. So follow us on Instagram at Hurl Podcast to keep up with not only MSU stuff. We're still going through the NFL. We're doing the playoffs. That we'll have a special coming out for that soon. We'll fill out our own bracket. If you want to follow along with us with your own bracket, that would be absolutely awesome. And let us know what you guys think. So that'll be coming out very soon. Like you said, interview coming out very soon. We'll try and get the empty net back on. And yeah, we're just rolling. And I'm working through stuff with Apple basically as we speak. So if you want to listen to strictly audio, you can Spotify and Apple to do that. Speaking of Spotify, Hurdle Sports, type that in the search bar, go down to podcast, still the first one up, easiest one to find. It's even got mine and Logan's name on it, so you can't miss it. Exactly. So go there, Hurl Podcast for Instagram. And that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Bailey. That's Logan. Go Cats. Peace out, guys.
Go Cats, go. Eat shit, Grizzlies. Go Cats, go.